Salute, salute, we're live. Post-game day after the New York Knicks went down in Florida on a 3 straight losing streak. Plenty to talk about. Salute Knicks streets, Knicks Nation. How are we feeling after this? Plenty to talk about, no doubt. The chat's going to be on fire tonight as we talk about the run home into these playoffs. Can the Knicks straighten this skid right now? Jalen Brunson hurt, Julius Randle going off. So much to talk about. Salute everyone out here. Thank God it's Friday, and I hope everyone's had a good week. And let's get into it. Salute to the best chat in the biz. Salute to Replay Gang. You already know what it is. Salute, salute. Welcome in. How you feeling? How is everybody feeling on this Friday night? The New York Knicks lost 3 tough games, and we're going to talk about it, all that and more. But first and foremost, haven't had a chance to, to be on live and pay my respects, to the passing of a New York Knicks legend, the one and only Willis Reed. Will live on forever for us in this organization, and condolences to Willis's friends, family out here, the organization, and everybody who was touched, by the life of Willis, and his accomplishments will live on forever. His legacy will also live on forever, and we'll continue to talk about it throughout this show. If you want to talk about your Willis memories, all of that, I'll talk about it and more. But I just had to start the show off, in the right fashion as we get into it, and talk more about, these 3 losses that were tough to stomach. But yeah, obviously it's a situation where, we're dealing with the injury of Jalen Brunson last night. It was tough. It really was. But yeah, to go down, to lose the 2 in Florida, is definitely going to make this run home all the more tight. With some stuff perhaps in the locker room, happening. We don't really know, at this point what's going to happen. But it's a tight race. Obviously, the Brooklyn Nets lost at the buzzer, which really was a stroke of luck for these New York Knicks, for them to lose that. So the Knicks cling on to a 2-game lead of the Brooklyn Nets and just a 1.5-game lead of the Miami Heat. The New York Knicks, it was a back and forth affair last night. If you look at the lead chart, the New York Knicks basically were down for 90% of last night's game, which is inexcusable, for me. A very, very winnable game, even without Jalen Brunson. What I'm seeing is I think that these Knicks are, taking their foot off the gas. I think they feel like they were closer to the playoffs than what they actually were. And we saw this 2 years ago. That's a fact. They get closer to the playoffs, and we're just not seeing that same intensity on the defensive end than what we saw earlier. If you look at that earlier win in Miami, then that win on the road in Boston, that was a completely different team in terms of the defensive side of things. They were absolutely buckling down on defense and just willing to fight through screens and all of that. Also want to make mention of how disgusting the officiating was. It really was disturbing. For me personally, it was bad. Like, there's just no way around it. We've seen the videos and stuff. The 5-second count was egregious. It ended up being like a 6-second count. The ref was awfully slow with that situation, which was frustrating. The offensive foul on Isaiah Hartenstein, which was supposedly a moving screen, but I didn't see that. Isaiah was trying to stand his ground, but was being pushed down as well. And of course, that leads us to Julius Randle again, getting frustrated with the refs, head somewhere else other than the actual game. Right when we need Julius to stand up, when Jalen Brunson is out. Um, not putting all of the loss on Julius by any means. We're going to talk about every player at the moment, but yeah, Julius being that leader, which was the key thing that the chat keeps hitting on. When Brunson's down and Julius got to step up. His body language, all of that, not just his play, but he's got to lead by example in terms of how he conducts himself on the court and, in terms of leading like a leader out there. There's a game to be won. We got, like Tom Thibodeau said in his presser, we got bigger fish to fry, and that's focusing on the playoffs. You know, to get distracted and let your temperatures boil over and all of that throughout the game is disturbing. It's frustrating considering the season he's had. I mean, we've seen the graphic. Quickly, tried to showcase some leadership. So I want to shout out Emmanuel Quickley first and foremost. Josh Hart. I mean, these guys love Julius. I don't think there's any ill will towards them. Tempers flare, and it's going to get rectified. But it was just tricky, on the road to witness that. It was definitely tough. Salute to everyone out here in the chat. We shout you out all night, and going to have a great conversation. Kick things off. JJ also says Randle has to get his act together because going at Quickley like that was not a good look. Yeah, a young king in the team who plays been all good recently. Emmanuel Quickley's play has been excellent. He's trying to show a little bit more as that point guard. Stepping up, stepping in for JB. Yeah, that was disappointing. The graphic, all of that stuff, no doubt. Dirty says Miami on the road isn't that tough. I think we have enough cushion to hold on to the fifth if we can get our head straight. Yep. Get this thing back on track. Luckily, we got the Houston Rockets coming up, which is, I mean, I can't sit here and say any wins are given. We can't take anything for granted. Heck no. But 3-day break. Let's get our head straight, like Dirty said. Reflect on what we've achieved and what this final straight ahead of us is looking like, and let's just get into that playoff mode now. Julius Randle, everyone out here with any of these follies, Mitchell Robinson liking certain tweets online and all that stuff. Man, it's got to get handled, inside of the locker room. Man, buzzer beater, salute fam with the super chat. Appreciate you. Got the streets buzzing. Buzzer says, what did Tibbs say about Randle's outburst? Great question. And I did listen to Tom Thibodeau's reaction. And this has frustrated some fans I've seen. But Tom Thibodeau's not a kind of guy that's going to single Julius Randle out. Now, tell me if you feel like that's a problem, because I feel like it is. Not saying he needs to call him out, in the presser, but he does, always talk about we need to do better at this, we need to do better at that. There's nothing wrong with just saying, look, I've had a chat with Julius, it was the wrong thing to do at the time. He's going to be all good. But, I think his emotions got the better of him at that time. There's nothing wrong with just sort of calling it like you see it. But Buzzer, he said things along the lines of, things can happen throughout games, and he just basically did everything but deflect responsibility on the veteran player, the leader that's supposed to be on the floor. So yeah, he was very deflective of the responsibility, of what took place. So that's frustrating. Dirty says nothing can ever be said about Randle in public as well, because he's too fragile, or it's a fragile situation right now. Man, imagine what's going to happen in the playoffs, because there are some fans that still haven't got the full trust yet in Julius. Given what happened 2 years ago, an amazing season, but didn't finish well. On a good note. But yeah, I'm not taking Randall's side by any means. His actions need to improve, all of that stuff. I understand the frustration from Julius because there's certain calls he's just not getting, and it's similar to LeBron James in terms of these guys are built like huge, guys, and they get hacked, they get whacked, they get hit, and it's frustrating that he feels like he's a two-time All-Star in 3 years, and he's not getting the type of calls that he feels he should be getting. But at the same time, you got to handle it better. Yeah, I really feel like you got to handle that better, and that's just the way it's got to go. Because if there's any doubt that Jalen Brunson is this team's MVP, then this proves that right now. We absolutely capitulated. One, RJ, if it's even possible to look worse than what he has so far this season. I mean, he had a really, really bad performance. A really bad game offensively. Now RJ's, picked things up a little bit defensively, but yeah, again, he's a guy who absolutely got to step up as well when Jalen Brunson is out. He definitely got to step up, and we didn't see that from RJ Barrett. He was benched. That critical turnover late, in isolation, was just a summarization of Barrett's season, so far in terms of his offensive development. You know, he's great at getting to the cup at times, and taking advantage of the mismatch, but it's so one dimensional. If he faces a solid defender who can pick him off, and the handle, the dribble does need to get tighter with RJ, and he certainly had some good performances this season, but I'm evaluating as a kind of a whole package, and RJ Barrett has definitely underachieved, this season, right? Fourth year now. There's still plenty of development in him. I still feel like he can be a valuable, piece and a contributor on a winning team, no doubt about it. Not throwing RJ Barrett under the bus completely, but his performances are subpar too many times, you know. And in terms of his development, it's coming along very, very slow. Offensively, his moves, all of that stuff. Like last night, you look at Quentin Grimes, talking about some of the positives because Emmanuel Quickley and Quentin Grimes stepped up. We'll go through the box score, and there's also a shot chart that I want to show everybody, which was stark, glaring in terms of how much we miss Brunson with inefficiency last night. But Quentin Grimes' ball movement, cutting, shout out to everyone out there that's been calling out for Quentin Grimes to get a bigger role, because Quentin Grimes is showcasing things that we need to see more of. He needs the ball more, with extra spacing. It's beautiful to see. He had the extra space to rise up and shoot. There was a little bit less sort of clogging up. Obviously, he had a bigger role with Brunson out, and he stepped up amazingly. So shout out to Q Dot with that situation. And everyone else in the chat tonight, Geraldine, how we feeling? Salute, appreciate you. Geraldine says, I don't want Brunson playing if he's hurt. We need him more for the playoffs. 100%. Geraldine, you hit. Yep, completely agree with that situation. Now, good thing is this ain't seem to be the foot. It's the hand, which can be tricky also. So I think it's more day to day. Let's hope it's all good with that situation. Dirty salute again. I have to be real. The last week is why I've never been on the build around Randle train. Your foundation got to be solid. Yeah, and can't have guys who freak out all the time. Yeah, I completely agree with the last part. You know, that's a huge part in terms of winning. I mean, we're gonna be seeing so much more pressure than what Julius has been facing. These regular season games. You can't have a meltdown, so to speak. You could be frustrated. You could get a tech, once in a while. And to be brutally honest, I'm going to talk about Tibbs as well, because I really feel like Tom Thibodeau, where has he been throughout some of these bad officiating? No challenges called last night. Correct me if I'm wrong. but at least at the most critical times, there was no challenge. But in terms of being, calling out the refs and getting a tech, where's he at? He needs to show support of his guys, his players, his guy Julius, and get out there and take a tech. Don't just let Julius get the tech. With that situation, you could see he's frustrated. You could see things are boiling over. I think Tibbs could have stepped up as well. Salute Dan Flowers. What's good? Randle has never been held accountable since he's been here. Thus, he's become a cancer, and shortly he's going to begin to alienate his teammates. Oh, I really hope, Dan, Knicks fan, I really hope that's not happening in terms of the teammates. I think obviously it started in LA, right, against the Clippers. We saw the first real glimpse of major frustration from Julius. That was that first kind of meltdown for the season, which has come so late. We've come so far, and he's come so far to achieving, such a great season. It's disappointing, to see this happen late. Um, I think, yeah, obviously that Clippers game was without Brunson as well. So, I mean, is Brunson the cure for this cancer? Basically, I mean, I don't think it's outrageous to go as far as to say, in the playoffs, if Jalen Brunson's got to miss a game, I don't think Julius is going to respect a guy like Emmanuel Quickley enough to rein him in. I don't think he's going to respect an RJ Barrett enough to be reined in. I don't see that happening, you know. And it was clear from the get-go how much Randle respected Jalen Brunson, earlier on. So, man, we need to get Brunson back ASAP. With that said, we do, in terms of the play, all of that stuff, everything, man. New York and salute 1980. Knicks out in the first round, no doubt about it. Yeah, we gotta get there first. We'll talk about the road into the playoffs and these last 7 games and how critical that is and the results that went the Knicks' way. But yeah, I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised. We're very, very heavily reliant on isolation scoring. If Randle is not clicking and if they're shutting down Jalen Brunson, it's tricky. We need guys like Grimes, we need guys like RJ and Quickley to hold us down offensively. So that's tough. That's tough, man. Appreciate your comments. Sharp Powers is in the house. Salute, salute, salute to everyone out here. Let's go. Big end to this season, right? It's been an up and down roller coaster. How is it going to finish? No one knows. But this 3-day break, boy, has that come at an excellent time for this team, right? To get straight and just focus on these 7 games, focus on what we need to achieve and get into these playoffs, man. Get into the 6th spot, the 5th spot. Just do it because you never know. A matchup against Philly, against Boston, right? Things can go awry for those teams as well. Joel Embiid has his meltdowns. James Harden might get an injury or two. The Boston Celtics could implode with Jaylen Brown. So that stresses on the importance. You've just got to get there, man. We've just got to get there. And then we see what happens out here, man. But definitely everyone's will is going to be tested. Everyone's composure, all of that emotion is going to be tested, right? This is what we play for. This is what they play for in terms of, getting to what really means something out here. Salute Hans in the chat. Let's go. JJ says, great job by Alan Hahn going at RJ in the post-game show. And it's about time someone said it. Yeah. I thought it may have been Wally, but yeah, I think it was perfect timing. It wasn't an individual attack on RJ. It was like, this is his moment. Like you said, man, this is his guy, his moment. He needs to step up in a game like this against the Orlando Magic on the road. You lost 2 in a row. You're trying to hold on to that playoff seeding and all of that stuff. But yeah, I really liked that as well from MSG, calling it like they see it. We've had, of course, Clyde, the one and only Walt Clyde, call out RJ's defense earlier this year. Some back channel reports that RJ didn't quite appreciate that, or the people around RJ didn't really appreciate that. But um, what's the best way to silence that? Is just be better. Just play better, right? No one's going to critique you if you're better, right? Play tough. Pull your socks up, pull your shorts up. And this is the big boy stuff. No boys allowed. NBA, right? You can't be soft, right? If you got feelings hurt, then you're in the wrong industry right now. Just come out and ball, and the crowd will appreciate you, cheer for you, all of that stuff. But yeah, back to the referees, the officiating. We all know how bad it's been, man. It's been nothing short of garbage. But you can't let that melt down. Change the whole course of a game, right? That technical was tough, and then the body language. And the frustrating thing is it happened right on half time, so they were able to go back to the locker room and have at least 15 minutes to cool down, but it just wasn't enough. Still was not enough, man. Um, and yeah, Brunson's been bad defensively, like Dirty says, but RJ and Julius were particularly bad last night. And I always like to pay respect to the opponent. Orlando Magic are legit, and they're on the come up. Markel Fultz, Paolo, and Cole Anthony, they had a point to prove. They didn't have Jalen Suggs, no Jonathan Isaac as well. Franz Wagner didn't even have a great game, and they still lit us up. Disgusting performance defensively. It was really bad. you know. And again, I think I contributed that to a little bit of they've let the foot off the gas. They're not playing with the same intensity. Maybe there is that locker room unsettlement, and of course they're still, you know, learning to play without Jalen Brunson. Right? It's a gut. It's a punch to the gut whenever he comes out late. When he's questionable. At the same time, there are some dudes who stepped up. We salute Quentin Grimes. He is him right now. Um, this is what makes a player's development. In the moment that Hahn was hitting on, that RJ didn't step up when we really needed, Quentin Grimes stepped up. JJ says been saying he needs more touches. Facts. You have. Salute to you. He's legit, and it'll be really good. Loved seeing him play the way he did last night. Yeah, I agree, man. He was so satisfying. Yeah, he's out here taking advantage of that opportunity, which was great. Better decision making. His cutting was beautiful. The 3-point balls coming back with a bang. Um, his defense was gritty. It was tough. It was amazing. When he took that guy on head on, basically contained downhill dribble penetration, got the steal, got out for the leak out in transition was awesome. Yeah. And at the same time, when he chooses to be passive, it can hurt the team 100%. You're on point. Yeah. He needs to take every look he gets or, you know, collapse the defense, be aggressive. That's what I like to see, you know. If you notice guys like nights like when RJ is aggressive and he makes a quick decision, that's when he gets his man, he catches his man off guard. Like JJ hits on, when RJ pulls the ball back out and he's dribbling and he dribbles it back out and tries to get back downhill again, it's a nightmare situation. Like Paul says, salute. It's too much hero ball from everyone at times. Yeah. Not enough good screen set, pick and roll action, ball movement, all of that stuff. And boy, is it going to be tough in the playoffs to see. In terms of pecking order, JJ's keeping Grimes over any of the other guys playing, young guys playing here 100%. Yep. yeah, the front office feels the same, I feel, fam. I think if it comes to trades, to upgrade this roster, Quentin Grimes is probably the most likely to stay. Maybe even ahead of Manuel Quickley. Maybe not. Maybe those two are quite even. And it's funny that they both stepped up last night. But yeah, RJ, Deuce McBride didn't get a whole lot of minutes, but he didn't really help us a lot last night. He played only 6 minutes. So, yeah, I said this on so many shows recently. I said, watch out for the remaining part of the season with RJ Barrett, because that's what this front office is going to be using to evaluate, to make a decision on him if an offer comes available too good to pass up. And also other front offices too. Don't forget about that. Um, yeah, Dirty says Randle might be the second biggest whiner this side of Luka. It's looking like that recently. Um, but putting yourself in Julius's shoes, I want you guys to tell me, what do you feel like? What switched? What's happened recently from everything to be going quite well? You know, it seemed like his emotions been contained all season up until the Clippers game. Do you think it's something personal going on that's just adding more frustration? Do you think it's purely on court issues? He's not happy. He's not getting the All Star whistle. You know, I think it's a lot of that. I think Julius really, he's high on himself. He bet on himself. Um, he's likely to play all 82, and I've always gone on record and shouted out Julius for that. He doesn't take nights off, so he's that Iron Man. He likes playing. He likes winning. But yeah, every player got warts on their game, and his is more in the mental side of things right now. Uh, Obviously, his shot selection is a bit suspect at times. He did definitely jack up a lot of deep threes. Last night he shot 2 of 9 from deep, and that was hurtful. Yeah, I agree with this comment from Paul. Salute. Your Knicks are filled with tweeners. Their lack of height can be a huge problem, and you hit with that. And does that lead us into a scenario, in the summer where it's time to go after those wings, Jaylen Brown, OG Anunoby, you know, Brandon Ingram's, right? We have these picks now, and we'll talk about the Dallas selection tonight and where that sits right now with the New York Knicks lone draft pick in this upcoming draft, which is going to be another opportunity to upgrade this roster. But of course, we're looking at the playoffs right now. That's what I'm focused on right now. Yeah, Tom Thibodeau, whether he does it in the presser or not, as long as he brings Julius aside and just talks to him about how important it is to this team and to keep your composure as well. Uh, I like what Josh Hart did as well. Josh Hart Quickley, those guys' hearts in the right place, no pun intended. Um, they've seen that movie all before, like we have. They saw it unfold. Quickly stepped up to him and tried to pull him away. But yeah, you know, I understand the frustration again. These refs have been horrible, and I feel like some of these players just want to punch them in the face. Some of them have gone on record to say it's kind of personal as well. So the NBA got issues to fix with that scenario, and I talked about it earlier in the show how bad it was. The 5 second count, the the Jimmy Butler moving the pivot foot, calling the foul on that one. Isaiah Hartenstein getting shoved down last night. The Mitchell Robinson one when he was straight railroaded, straight blocked. Yeah, it's crazy. Hans says if Knicks go 4-3 over the next 7, can they hang on to the 5th seed for 4-3? Yeah, I feel like they can. I think 4 to 5 wins out of the next 7 is obviously the bare minimum this team got to do. But it's critical, fam, that one of those wins comes against the Heat because, of course, the Heat play the Nets and there's some other matchups that are critical. But the Knicks playing the Heat, at MSG, it's time to get that revenge back, fam. It's time to get them. And I feel like 4 to 5 wins could be enough. Could I see the Knicks winning 6 out of 7? It would be unlikely, but I could still see it happen. You don't know what Indiana, Washington, the Pelicans, and the other Indiana game are going to go. If Indiana's outside of the play-in, I don't think they're going to care about those last three, two of those last three. What do you guys think about that? Yep. Dirty says, in terms of RJ not stepping up, I'm okay with it. I'd rather he stick to the 12 shots per night. 3 of 12. Last night missed 0 of 3 from deep. 4 of 6 from the line. So that was RJ's tail. Yep. Sherwin says, did I watch the game? IQ was awful. He was not passing the ball in the first half. That's why I agree with Randle to go at him. Yeah, Sherwin, we always shout everyone out. Appreciate your support for the team, for Randle. But that's not how I see it. Respectfully, I disagree. I think Quickley's heart was in the right intentions. He was trying to contain Julius. He could see the tech coming, and the tech came. And Quickley did not have a perfect game at all. But I think out of the rest of the bunch, he stepped up. 10 of 18 and a 5 of so he was 7 of 17. So not great. 2 of 7, a 9 of 10 from free throw. So yeah, it wasn't one of Quickley's best games, but compared to the others, he was doing his best. Buzzer says, why would anyone want RJ right now, especially with the salary? You raise a great point. It may not even be the best time to trade him in this off season. I'm looking like we might need to bring him back into a 5th season, fam, and hope that he can kind of improve the play and develop a bit more in this summer. It's a huge summer ahead for RJ Barrett. The first thing I've noticed and first thing I want to highlight is RJ Barrett's dribble, his handles, like Paul said, it's extremely loose, extremely high as well. He needs to bend his knees and just get lower as well, and also get closer to the paint. Get some post ups. I think RJ Barrett's shown that he can get good looks. He was trying to back down Fultz, Gary Harris, some of those guys, and he ended up with a decent look. A little turnaround push shot or something, and he's not efficient at that yet. But I prefer that over him just trying to, cross dudes up on the perimeter and play that perimeter game. That's not his strength, right now. The 3-point shooting's not there as well. He's not quick enough and a good enough shooter to be a 2 guard. He's not quick enough and big enough to be a 3. He's that tweener right now. And until his handle gets much tighter, then it's going to be inefficiency, inconsistency, all of that. Dirty says teams will always gamble that they can fix a 22-year-old wing averaging 20. Just because a lot of us are frustrated doesn't mean that he's not an asset right now. I've always said I don't think that number is too crazy. He's definitely underachieving right now. I do think RJ Barrett could be tradable, but he may not be that real desirable asset yet that you really hope that a team can value, when you're trying to get back a star kind of thing. Could it be a situation where he's kind of like a John Collins in terms of John Collins trade value? They've been trying to get something really good for him, but they're just not comfortable with the way other teams value him. Yep. Johnny Salute, what's good? Randle shouldn't be allowed to get away with that. This is very disrespected display, and I think that Randle is jealous because Brunson is getting rest. It sounds silly, I'd agree, it is. I don't know if it's me personally, respect everyone's take. I don't know if it's so much Randle's towards teammates. I think it's definitely his temper, his frustration at the refs. This guy is a potential All-NBA guy, potentially, well, not potentially, but he's a two-time All-Star in 3 years, and he's feeling like he's not getting the whistle of like those kind of those guys around the league. You know, those guys are hacking and whacking definitely, and he's frustrated. And let's face it, even when things were going great, his body language has never been super great. He jogs up the court sometimes. He likes to handle the ball a lot, a kind of thing. So yeah, maybe he's not as happy about not being able to dribble the ball up the floor a lot more. But yep, what's good, Kenny? KP Quickley needs to chill. Randle is the boss. Let him do him. Yeah, Kenny out here supporting his guy as well. Appreciate you. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be worse than last year in terms of Randle's ongoing displays. I think we are getting. It's no surprise we are getting towards crunch time in the season, right? Everyone's tired, everyone's stressed, everyone's banged up. We can see the finish line, and these teams are trying to punk us. The Heat played physical. Orlando Magic extremely lengthy and physical as well. Minnesota with Jaden McDaniels and all of that stuff, man. Kyle Anderson and that. These were tough kind of individual matchups, for the New York Knicks. So let's get back to winning ways, man. Let's play tough, intensifying defense, beat Houston, get a huge clutch win against the Heat, and then a house money game against Cleveland. Really? If we can beat the Rockets and beat the Heat and go into Cleveland feeling good, win that one, and then you see the final straight after that, that's critical. The Wizards could be, they're already out of the play-in standings right now in 12th. They are 2.5 games back of 10. So they might already mail it in. Bradley Beal might hang it up for the season. And then, of course, Indiana, the Pelicans in Indiana again. So Indiana are 1.5 back of the 10th play-in spot. So, yeah, like I said, man, these next 2 to 3 games are the most important for this season, this regular season. And the New York Knicks need to snatch these wins, 100%. Joshua, salute. Where do you think the Knicks stand at this point? I think we're in trouble, honestly. Certainly, if we lose to the Rockets, I'm willing to go there and agree with you, man. It's concerning. I won't say yet troublesome yet, just because I feel good about this road ahead and some of these wins that we could snatch. But the Rockets, it's back at MSG. It's time to get good, get home cooking, come out with a feel good statement win against the Rockets and the Heat. That's the big one for me. I can't explain how much the Heat game means, especially in the standings, because yeah, if we feel comfortable with these next 2, and then we know that okay, 5th and 6th, it's kind of a little bit more likely now. Brunson's back. We can win 3 out of the next 5. That's a lot less pressure, fam. And then we know we can look forward to a bit of a rest, before the playoffs begin. So that's where I sit right now. There's definite concerns, but I've heard the noise about there's a lot of pressure on the Knicks to win one round. The Knicks have to win a round, this kind of thing. I don't necessarily agree. I think it's important that the Knicks win a few games in the playoffs. Be very, very competitive. No, I'm not just talking win 1 game, 2 games. It's all about how we look, how we play. If we go down in a close 6-7, to a quality team like Philly or Boston, Cleveland would be a bit more disappointing, I must admit. But yeah, if we don't win a playoff series, I don't think necessarily this season's a failure at all. I think there's been a plenty of shining lights from this season and a clearer way that this team can upgrade. So that's going to be big. Still going to be a big off season. But more evaluation from RJ, from these kind of players, Um, a lot of people have had concerns not just about RJ, about his fit with the team. Mark Berman, when he's been on our show, is always talked about, I just never believe that Julius and RJ are a good fit. And I've got to agree with that now. I've got to agree. Um, those two are just not good fits right now. For as poor as RJ has been, you need to be in a place that's easier for you to succeed. And I just don't feel like it is that situation right now for RJ. Um, Also, let's not forget Leon Rose has included him in a blockbuster deal before. So before anyone says we're, getting on RJ and we're just, fans just want him out of here and all of that stuff, it's not necessarily what the fans think. It's also what the front office thinks. You know, their actions talk, and they are or have been willing to include RJ Barrett in a trade, for a guy like Donovan Mitchell. You can only imagine what's going to happen if a guy like Joel Embiid or Karl Anthony Towns or Jaylen Brown becomes available, right? I mean, you can't sit there on the phone talking to the other guy's GM and say, yeah, RJ Barrett's off the table. I don't want to include him, kind of thing. You kind of get laughed at with that situation. You got to include somebody if you're trying to upgrade this team. You know, basically. Um, in terms of the question earlier about Randle, Dirty says, I really think it's just Randle becomes toxic when his shots aren't falling and he has no legs because he's been overused. I think a fatigue and attrition can definitely add frustration when feel like you've been carrying the team, and he certainly has, been carrying a huge offensive load, and in terms of playing all 82, I could see that. Um, Also, I just feel like Randle is that quiet dude in the locker room. I don't really think there's any beef with any kind of guy, but at the same time, I don't think like Randle is best buddies with anybody on this team. He like guys like Reggie Bullock, Jalen Brunson, kind of the more mature older heads. And I think guys like RJ, Quickley, Obi, like I said, I'm not saying there's any beef between them. I just don't think they're his guys. He's just not that kind of guy. Um, JJ says, I think I'd try upgrading the center spot as well as with the wing. I feel like having that center that could give you something offensively would be a huge improvement. Yeah, I'm agreeing with that 100%. You know, not just saying I don't appreciate what Mitch provides. You know, we'll see we'll see the season play out, and we'll see what happens in the playoffs and where we're lacking. But everything Mitch brings defensively and rebounding wise is very much a big key and appreciated from me. But he's a guy who definitely wants more action offensively. But really, what kind of moves has he got? He could dribble a little bit, which I give him that. He could push the ball on the deck, but in terms of shooting, stretching the floor out, man, all of that stuff he can't right now. So yeah, man, it's frustrating. The chat's absolutely buzzing, man. Smashing that like button for the Knicks streets, right? We got 7 games remaining, and then it's playoffs, baby. It's playoff action. There's going to be no excuses for anybody, right? It's you put up, you show up, or you shut up, kind of thing. In terms of the Dallas selection, Dirty says I could see the Knicks moving that pick for the 2 Brooklyn picks. Yep. Maybe trading back as well, fam. Yep. That trade looks like it's looking to keep that Dallas pick in the Josh Hart deal is definitely looking like it's a nice move right now. And salute the Oregon Nick fanatics. What's good? Appreciate you. Yeah, that's the other big storyline heading towards the end of this regular season. The Knicks keep the Dallas pick. If Dallas can't be worse than all of the Toronto, Lakers, Pels, Utah, and Minnesota. So right now that pick is looking nice. This graphic was from the other day. Right now it's still in the 15th as well, so nothing's really changed. But like I said, the Dallas Mavericks have to be worse than all 5 of those teams. The Raptors, Lakers, Pels, Jazz, and T-Wolves, in order for them to get that pick back. So it's looking like it's going to be a great pick, and it's looking like the Knicks will keep that, in my opinion. Now, I know Luka's out, Kyrie, that situation's a bit dicey right now. But if you look at it, out of Toronto, the Lakers, New Orleans, Utah, and Minnesota, they all play each other a lot, and they all play tough games. So, it's close, it's within one game, but I can't see all 5 of those teams all being better than the Dallas Mavericks, or in reverse, I can't see the Dallas Mavericks being worse than all 5 of those other teams, in order for them to get that pick back. It's not like they're going to sit Luka and Kyrie for the rest of the season and just mail it in. That's not going to happen. They still have a lot to play for. JJ says, on that note, hoping the Mavs pick ends up low to the mid-teens, as that would be super nice. Yep, that would be absolutely buzzing for us as well. For the moves we could make as well, like trading back, like Dirty said, trading for a few picks, all of that stuff. That'd be great. And also, capitalizing on future flexibility. If we were to roll those picks forward, it could be a good thing, like you said, in terms of future assets, to make that big trade. Stanley says, I agree with you, but with our poor defense, I think it'll be very difficult to win that series, or a series. Yep. Yeah, it's tough. We've got to get back to that quality defense, fam, because it's going to be challenging enough for this team to beat the other team 4 times out of 7. That's just keeping it real right now. The Knicks have been streaky all season long, and for us to be strong enough to beat a quality team 4 times out of 7, we're definitely going to have to buckle down and get stops again, and get, and I'm sure we will. I'm sure, when the Garden's popping, and, and it's all to play for, and everyone's head needs to be on straight. Tom Thibodeau needs to be on point. I'm sure these guys are going to be better. But, offensively, it's going to be tough, because ball movement is going to be tough. They're going to start throwing traps, zone, and like I said, try to force Julius to be uncomfortable, be physical. That's another thing. If these refs will let you be physical, you're going to even be allowed to be more physical in these playoffs, man, which is crazy. But just looking at some of the stats from last night, as I pull this thing up, we we lost the points in the paint, which was disappointing. But like I've been saying, man, all season long, if the New York Knicks lose points in the paint, we've generally lost the game, because that's where we dominate. So we lost 48-50. Fast break points, though, we did win, which is unusual, 20-15. But the biggest lead from Orlando was disgusting. Again, to go down 19 to the Dallas Mavericks was just disgusting right there. And really, really disappointing. Want to bring up this shot chart as well. Right from last night, you look at how much we missed Jalen Brunson. That's the shot chart from last night's performance from the New York Knicks. Look at all those bricks in the 3-point elbow, but also in the paint. A lot of those misses in the paint, man. That's critical, right? I haven't break down which players they were from yet, but maybe a lot of them were from RJ. There was a few bunnies, a few stuff missed towards the paint there, but that's that's too close to be that inefficient, for my liking. Yep. What are you guys' thoughts on that situation, man? With last night's performance defensively was tough. But in terms of their defense, yeah, their length, their size was great to stop us and slow us down. Yeah, the Oregon Knicks says we taken a wing for sure. I hope we do. Yeah, we need to focus on that big time, and that comes down to fits as well. You know, Julius Randle doesn't have the longest arms, so he's not a really lengthy kind of guy. Quentin Grimes, undersized at 6'5" for the wing as well. Josh Hart plays tough, plays strong, but he's undersized as well. So yeah, I think that's where we could get to, fam. Um, yeah, Mavs will keep the pick if it's top 10, but I don't think it will get to that point. I really think I've looked at some of the games remaining, and I do think with Luka, with Kyrie, they're going to push. They're going to push for that. Do we see us winning, getting fifth or sixth with 7 games left? Yep, I do. I really do. Obviously, we are, out of the race for the 4th spot. That needs to be said. But 1.5 games up on the Heat, 2 games up on the Brooklyn Nets, with these games remaining. It's definitely a situation where the New York Knicks' fate is in our hands, fam. I can't complain or whine that the New York Knicks didn't get that 5th spot. If we don't, because it's set up for this club, to take advantage of that, man. The Rockets, the Heat, the Cavs, and I think a Washington and Indy and the Pels that are going to be maybe tanking with that situation. So yeah, that's how badly we missed Jalen Brunson in terms of just efficiency. Like, you look at Randle, 7 of 20 last night. Barrett, 3 of 12. Quickley, 7 of 17. Grimes was 10 of 18. He was the only dude that was efficient last night. And not only that, he shot 5 of 10 from deep. Quentin Grimes stood up, was a whopping plus 17 last night in his 25 minutes. Also, got to shout out Randle for being plus 20 in terms of plus minus as well. So when he was on the floor, we were definitely making our runs as well. But it's no doubt Julius's meltdown and his inefficient 3-point shooting, didn't help the team with that. Buzzer with another super chat. Salute. Got us all buzzing right now. Stand up. Buzzer says Randle dissed IQ because he scored 57 points in a loss. Man, whatever it is, I've got no idea. Only Julius knows, but that's certainly one of the reasons it could have been. Like you said, Buzzer, man. Yeah, I love getting everyone's thoughts on this situation. I feel like it's more towards the referees. I think he was just so worked up that his IQ was in front of him, and whoever it was, he was gonna feel the backlash. But I think it's a situation where Julius was just so heated at that point. He was ready to deck the ref at that point. Yeah, Taylor Hendricks, Derek Whitehead. A lot of opportunities now, man, with this Dallas draft pick. It's sitting in a situation where, man, it's going to be nice, a nice asset to get. Could the Knicks hit the jackpot with that situation? Imagine if it ends up in 11, 12, 13. It's so close at this point. Literally, you see there a game swing. But why I feel so good that the Knicks are still going to keep the pick is because straight simply, all 5 teams, Raptors, Lakers, Pels, and Utah, and Mini, all need to be better than than the Dallas Mavericks in order for them to fall back down to 10. And given there's only like 7, 8 games remaining, the chances of all 5 of those teams being better than the Dallas Mavericks, I don't see that happening, man. I'll be I'll be very, very, very surprised. But what that does mean is, man, this thing could be straight buzzing right now. You know, with the 11th pick, the New York Knicks select maybe Taylor Hendricks, Derrick Whitehead. It's going to be popping right there. Also, it's going to give the Knicks opportunities to trade the pick as well. Let's keep it a buck. If OG Anunoby is free, if Jaylen Brown were to shake loose, imagine that. If the Celtics were to flame out, fam, imagine that. So that's going to be fun. That's going to be good to see with that situation. And, talk about the pressure that the New York Knicks are facing, heading into the playoffs. You best believe the Cleveland Cavaliers, Philadelphia, Boston, Milwaukee, all the pressure's on them as well. Best believe that. That's one thing that's could be in the Knicks' favor heading into the playoffs, right? If and when we make it in the 6th seed or the 5th seed, the New York Knicks are going to be underdogs. Best believe that. They're going to go back to being that situation with a chip on their shoulder. And I think especially the Cleveland and the Philly matchup, obviously Boston, most supporters would still go with them in a 7-game. But boy, a Philly and a Cleveland matchup could go either way. Like I said, Embiid's volatile. James Harden, you don't know what's going to be up with that. And I actually like our depth better than Philly's depth. And I like our depth against Cleveland's depth as well. I really do. It's Boston's depth is a bit more stronger, I think, with Brogdon, coming off the bench, Williams, Josh Richardson, all of that, kind of stuff. But yeah, against Philly, and as we've shown all season against Cleveland, I think the Knicks can do some big things, man. I think we can make some noise. Yeah, we haven't even had the combine yet, and you might even be able to get a lot of these great guys, Chris Murray, Whitehead, further down too, fam. But one thing it is looking like is that the Knicks pick, if they get it, it's not even going to be anything worse than 15 or 16. I don't think, right? Because Dallas are struggling right now. They're struggling. They've got a couple of matchups against the Hornets, like Dirty says, but that's going to be good to ensure that the pick converts. But after that, they've got some tough matchups as well. So, yeah, look out for that. Almighty says Brunson, Jaylen Brown, OG, Randle, and Embiid, automatic champion. Man, that is stacked. To get all those dudes is going to be insane. I'll take one of Brown or Embiid. We could find another wing in the draft or somewhere else, I think. But as long as we could get another Brown or an Embiid, that puts us up there, man. 100% like Oregon Nick says as well. That is a situation where it's a guy who's available to contribute straight away, and we know Tibbs ain't playing a rook. Yeah, 100%. Especially how much he loves Quick, Hart, and Quentin Grimes now. Basically, man, I think he loves those guys so much that it's going to take a huge upgrade to come in and surpass those dudes. But give us your predictions now, fam. Well, you guys tell me the Houston Rockets, the Heat, Cavs, Wizards, Pacers, and the Pels. You guys tell me 4, 5, 6. How many more do we win? I'm going to go through it now. I'll give you mine. So Houston, I think we've got to win that, man. We have to win that one. Got to win. So we win. MSG's popping. We get back, straighten steer the ship, steady the ship, and get back to it. Miami Heat one is going to be the biggest game of the rest of this season, right? Right. You've just got to win that game at all costs, right? I don't care if Julius is a bit injured, Brunson's a little bit banged up. That's the game that could lock up a guaranteed playoff spot because you don't want to go back into that play-in situation all over again, man. Have to play more games. So 100%, I'm going to say the Knicks win the next two. The Cleveland game, I don't know how you're going to play that situation because, it might be a case of the Knicks don't want to show Cleveland everything. If you're heading into a 7-game series, man, you don't necessarily want to play Cleveland everything, because you can't pass them anyway. But then uh, Washington and the two of the Pacer games and the Pelicans, I'm going to say the New York Knicks at least win 2 out of those 4. So I'm going to say the Knicks could at least win four at minimum, and most likely 5. So Almighty's got us winning 5 more. So we go 5-2 for the rest of this season. Yep. You guys tell me, Almighty, tell me which of the 2 that we drop. If we win 5 more, which of the 2 that we don't win? JJ's gone with 4 and 3. Yeah, I agree with that one. Though it just depends on the Wizards and the 2 Pacer games and the Pels and how much they rest any guys is going to be key. Mike's gone with 5 as well. So you guys feel like we could still just close this thing out, get 5 more, get to 47, and lock up that 5th spot. That's going to be key for what Brooklyn does. Given we are 1.5 above the Nets, 2 ahead of the Nets and 1.5 ahead of the Heat. If we just beat the Heat and we win 5 out of 7, I don't see Brooklyn being able to catch us. So that's enough. For anyone that's not sure if 5 is enough, based on a 2-game lead with 7 to play, that's enough to stay in 5th as well. If we beat the Heat, though, beat the Heat. So Oregon Nick says we Houston dub, Heat dub. If Brunson's obviously healthy, 100%. The Cleveland L and a Washington dub, and we split the pacemakers. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Yeah, the pacemakers are a big spanner in this work because they're only 1.5 back of the 10th spot. So are they still trying to gun for the play-in, or are they going to maybe sit back and chill out? But maybe by that stage, the situation's already rectified. 4 and 3. I'll say a loss to the Cavs, JJ says, and then drop 1 of those 2 to the pacemakers, yep, and lose to the Pels, yep, and we win the other 4. Do you feel like it's enough? Obviously, the Brooklyn situation is going to be interesting. As I pull up the remaining games for Brooklyn, the Nets play the Heat tomorrow. Then they play the Magic, so 2 tough games. Then they play the Rockets, the Hawks, the Jazz. I'm going to say they could easily win 2 out of those 3. Then they play the Wolves, the Pistons, the Magic, and Philly to end the season. So I'm going to say they could definitely still win 2 out of those. So, yep, as long as the Nets lose 2 to 3 more and the Knicks can win 5, that 2-game lead is going to be enough to keep the 6th spot. Not necessarily the 5th, but definitely the 6th spot. The Heat is where it's at in terms of that situation. And the Heat's remaining games will be against, obviously, the Nets tomorrow. Then the Heat play the Raptors. Then they play the Knicks, obviously. Then they play the Mavs, the Pistons, Philly, the Wizards, and then the Magic. So a couple of tough games from the Heat too. The Nets game is going to be key tomorrow. We'll be watching that for sure. The Raptors, and then the Knicks game, and then the Mavericks, who might be pushing tooth and nail with Luka, and then the Philly, and then the Magic games to close it out. That's not going to be a given either as well. The Wizards. So it's kind of pretty even. Everyone's got a couple really winnable games. Everyone's got a couple of 50-50 games. So I'm looking at it like the New York Knicks just got to handle their business, man. Let's get it. Win 4 or 5 out of these next. But if we win the next two, that's going to take a lot of the pressure off, in terms of everyone can just breathe a bit more easy, you know, just chill out a little bit. None of these meltdowns. Pelicans still have things to play for, absolutely. Um, but we'll know more, yeah, when we get closer to it, man. Looks like Zion's out for the remaining regular season as well. And with that said, yeah, with the Pelicans, um, I want to check where they're at in the standings right now. The Pelicans are in 9, all bunched up. Yep, they're just half a game from falling out of the play-in. So, but they have so much to play for still. Yeah, which is big. Yep, Mike boy, what's good, fam? The team's streaky. We win the last 3, regardless. Yep, the last 3, regardless. Yeah, I think 3 out of the last 4 is got to be what you've got to, bare minimum. You've got to strive for that. It'd be an absolute meltdown if the Knicks, let's say, or they miss Brunson, or they failed late in the game. The Wizards, by that stage, it could be a wrap. For them, the Pacers obviously going to continue to play young players. They've got good quality young players with Tyrese, Nemhard, all of those guys. But if the Knicks are gunning for playoff seeding, man, and healthy, that should be enough to put their foot on their throat. Yeah, and crush them, man. Yep. Chat straight buzzing right now, man. Knicks diehards ready for the playoffs. Let's get it and win these last 7. Let's win out, fam. But I all know how much you guys want to beat the Heat, which is the most important thing. We don't want to let the Heat snatch that 5th spot. No, no, no. Out here. So that's, disappointing that we didn't get it done on the road. Really, really disappointing. But obviously, it's still in our hands, which we're lucky. It's still in our hands. Now, in terms of what's happened recently, the bench, up until these last 3 losses, where we're really clicking, we're stepping up. Emmanuel Quickley, continued his decent form, stepping in while Brunson was out, which was a surprise. But Josh Hart was a -10 last night. He's been a little bit poorer for the last 2 games in terms of what we've been used to with Hart's defense. Now, are we starting to see a situation where Josh Hart's size is limiting his effectiveness? He had a couple been blown by taller guys as well. But in terms of field goal percentage, he's being decent. 3 of 7, hit 1 of 3 from deep, but he didn't shoot a single free throw. So Josh Hart's ability to get to the line's been key. 7 points, -10 in 29 minutes. I think in a big matchup against Orlando, we needed more from Josh Hart, man. We needed more buzz with that. So yeah, in terms of like JJ says as well, he's been getting blown by a bit. Yeah, he's been up on his man, gambling on that. And in terms of that, he said his defense has been pretty mediocre for a minute now as a Nick. Yeah, he gives you that effort, energy, but you wonder if maybe the added minutes, the since coming across is starting to maybe like wear on him a tiny bit recently. But like I said earlier in the show, man, I really feel like the Knicks taking the foot off the gas heading towards these playoffs, and it's natural to happen because here you are trying to get to the finish line. You're just trying to get to the playoffs right now, man. You ain't trying to see Orlando's young kids, up in your grill, trying to pound you and be physical and all of that ish. That's why I think Randle was a bit frustrated. Minnesota, this pesky team out of the play-in situation, being tall, physical, getting gritty with us. As a player, man, when you're so close to the playoffs, that's the last thing you want right now. 7 games left. You just want to be done with it at this point. And especially Randle, who's played, basically 70, he's played 75 games now, without a single break. So that's where it's at. The coach has got to step up, and play the right guys now. Maybe reduce some minutes. Get these guys fresher. Quickly played 42, so he had to play a lot, for Brunson to be out. I think Mitch only played 31 right now. He wasn't in foul trouble, but you know Hartenstein 16 minutes, Toppin 12 minutes. Right, get Julius a break. Right now, he's just going to be more tired, more stressed out, all of that. Yep. What's good, CK? Charlie's in the house. Randall's going back to his old self, being a jerk with that. Yeah, last night was frustrating. It was probably the second worst instance. The Clippers one in LA was by far the most frustrating that he was with the refs and stuff. But to not follow his teammates' advice, just get out of the way. That was a momentum swing. Hunting for more size, athleticism, 100%. That's why I'm still on the fence as to whether or not Josh Hart is going to be a long-term solution for this team. It might be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, but he's our guy that's best to stay off the bench. Or if we move RJ, and Grimes, possibly he can take that starting 2 spot. But really, we need extra size. We need extra length, 100%. J Dragon, salute. Haven't trusted the Knicks in decades. Let's not have a Mets collapse right now. Man, I'm feeling like it's going to be basically a roller coaster. So strap yourself in, man. This thing's going to get crazy. This run to the playoffs, and before that, there could be a few more hurdles to clear yet, which is something that we are really, really, really in bad need of a playoff victory. Not since 2013 have we been able to break the shackles, get the monkey off of the back. That would go a long way to restoring a lot of trust, for fans. If Randle can get hot and win us a playoff series with Brunson and RJ, then we have a lot to talk about going into next season. If the Knicks can be giant killers and knock the heads off of Cleveland, knock the heads off of Philly, knock the head off of Boston even, the streets would be buzzing heading into the offseason. It'd kind of be like house money in the second round. But we've got to clear these hurdles first, get to the playoffs, and go in as underdogs, and pull off that giant killing move. Beat the Heat, get there, man. If we lose our playoff seeding to the Heat or the Nets, a lot of people are going to be calling for some changes. Yeah. Almighty says we should be pretty good with these 3 off days. Yeah, we should be. Let's hope. I'm more thinking towards back to MSG too, fam. We don't have to travel for like at least another 7 days or so. So that the team got back home, 3 off days, and now we got the Rockets. Gotta blow them out, and then the huge game against the Heat, which by all indications, man, that is going to be like the first playoff kind of game. With all of that ish we faced in South Beach, with Randall getting hot, with Jimmy buckets going back and forth. Man, that's going to be hot, that game, man. The Garden is going to be absolutely lit in that Heat game, man. If we could salute Jimmy Butler and wave him goodbye, as maybe he gets sent off, or as we win the game, and we could say bye bye Heat. Enjoy that 6 seed, or enjoy the play in. That's going to be beautiful. And especially if the Heat lose tomorrow, if the Heat lose to the Brooklyn Nets, and then the Knicks can beat them, the Nets might even get sixth. If we can send Pat Riley and Jimmy Butler into the play-in situation, man, that'd be lit for us Knicks fans. We'll be sitting there watching with our popcorn, our drink, watching the first play-in game with the Heat. um, Man, I don't know who we should root for. I'm gonna have to say we might have to root for the Brooklyn Nets. Man, it's just by the numbers, not by any other reason, fam. Um, and to be honest, I have more pity on the Brooklyn Nets now. I don't despise them no more without KD and Kyrie. They're just a bunch of role players now from New Jersey. Um, yeah, and you can't really root for the Heat either. So it's the Nets by default in this thing, man. You guys tell me if I'm out of line. Yeah, like dirty hits on you. You always got to root against the Heat. Never a question. I'm just more salty after the last loss to the Heat. The Orlando one was just like whatever, We didn't have Brunson, but the Heat one was there, man. It was there to win. The the officiating was so one-sided. It was ridiculous. It was crazy right there, man. Changing the rules on us, man. Jimmy Butler was allowed to change his pivot foot twice before and the Knicks called a foul on Josh Hart. Had the whole team so frustrated that Josh Hart, tweeted Ish out. So that lets you know just how frustrated even he was. This whole team is right now, man. We're ready to put the beat down on the Heat, man. Make no mistake. Dirty says, I hate to say it, but a big run might not be great for us. Don't want to be like Atlanta, and then you might think you're better than what you are right now. I think either way, it's going to be a huge off season, and Leon is probably feeling like this team is at the point where we're one bigger move away. So I think it's not going to change the expectations of the off season too much, regardless. But definitely, we'll be feeling a lot more giddy about next season if we do win a playoff round and we make a deeper run. With that said, it's happened before. The Heat made the finals and then they missed out in the playoffs. And then I think the Boston Celtics made the finals once and then they fell back down. But I don't see us falling off the cliff like Atlanta has. Another team I got pity on now. I don't even fear the Hawks no more. It's just pity, especially looking like they might trade Trae Young. They might trade John Collins. But yeah, it comes with being a New York Knicks fan. You got to root against the Heat, man. Jay says if RJ on the team, I'll be sadly disappointed. For the reason you want RJ off the team, or just for the reason why we didn't make a bigger upgrade? I'm going to take it as you're frustrated with RJ being on the team. For me, it's a bit of both. I think RJ will come in the next season a better improved player. How much, I got no idea, but I think the bigger disappointment will be if we haven't made a big upgrade for me. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, facts. We need the Brooklyn Nets to win. Although there is one and very one-dimensional positive if the Heat do win, is that it widens the gap between the Knicks and the play-in spot. So that is something, whether you want the Knicks to get the fifth or not, or whether you're just satisfied if the Knicks make playoffs. That's something you got to ask yourself, because obviously the Brooklyn Nets are in 7. So if the Heat can push the Brooklyn Nets and lose, then it becomes easier for the New York Knicks now to get the 6th spot, and just secure a playoff spot. I think So that is one point we can't overlook. You may not be cheering for the Heat to win, but you'd be cheering for the Brooklyn Nets to lose. Now, if the Brooklyn Nets win, both teams, the Heat and the Nets, become closer to the Knicks as well, which puts more pressure on the New York Knicks, to win their games and take care of their business as well. Yet Trae Young been really, really trash this season as well. Yep. He kind of peaked at the moment. His defense cannot get better in terms of that. At least Jalen Brunson is a bigger guy, so he's a defensive liability, but he's stronger than Trae Young at least. So in terms of like post ups and stuff, Jalen Brunson can kind of hold his own. They both stink on the perimeter as well, but um, let's hope Jalen Brunson's foot, hand, whatever it is now, ain't bothering him, too much, because uh, him feeling 100% or 90% is going to be big for this team to get the best, out of it. Right now, we got some NBA action popping right now as JJ's put some eye-opening things in the chat. Let's pull this baby up right now. And we have the Dallas Mavericks 26 to the Charlotte Hornets 44 to start the second right now. That's crazy. Kind of maybe to be expected. Or Luka's playing, Kyrie's playing right now. Man, you got Nick Richards, who the Charlotte Hornets extended, Dennis Smith Jr., Gordon Hayward, PJ Washington popping with JT Thor and Mark Williams, the big man. So, man, that's going to be something to watch. If we're still live, we'll be doing the pick standings refresh for sure on that. Appreciate you for that situation. The Raptors are up by 20 on the Pistons, so the Raptors are still competing. The Pacers are about to go down to the Celtics, so that makes their run to the play-in even more difficult. You got the Bucks bullying the Jazz, so that keeps the Jazz back. If the Jazz lose, even if the Mavericks lose, it keeps, again, like I said, as long as one of those other 5 teams are still worse than the Mavericks, then we're all good. And we get to keep that pick, which is big. Almighty says this could be what RJ is. He's peaked with this situation. I'm going to expect or hope that there's some small incremental growth throughout the rest of a few seasons. I don't think he's going to come out in an off season and be just some completely different kind of player. He's still a guy with volume, can give you 25, 30 a night. The best he can improve on is efficiency and his defense and his handles. But in terms of his bag, I don't see RJ getting, a whole big bag of moves and stuff. The size and the lack of speed, foot speed is limiting. The only guy who peaked at 22 might be Ben Simmons, man. Matisse Thybulle's another one too, who's basically was looking like an elite wing defensively in terms of maybe the rest of his game. Matisse Thybulle's come back down as well. Yeah, the Dame situation is going to be tough, but for the Knicks to trade Brunson at this point, I'd be shocked. That'd tell me Leon Rose is straight CAA mafia with that, with Joel Embiid. Is Dallas going to go into that tank mode? I don't see it. It's going to be risky if they do, to piss off Luka and piss off Kyrie, man. I think that'd be very, very, very risky. But in looking at the standings for the pick again, that is a situation, like I said earlier, and I'll pull it up on the screen again. All we need is one of the Raptors, Lakers, Pels, Utah, or Minnesota to be worse than the Dallas Mavericks. So it's going to be tough for all 5 of those teams to be better than the Mavericks that are currently below them, because they're not great teams either, and they're going to lose their fair share of games as well. So it's going to take basically Dallas to lose all of their games, or four, five, six, seven of their games, to even have a chance of getting that pick back. So I don't see it happening. But man, I did expect them to beat the Hornets for sure, man. So that's something eye-opening. Yeah, Dennis Smith been getting another chance. Yep. But that does look like, a situation when you're on a bad team, man. You get more reps, less pressure, all of that as well. Dang it, Dallas, I want them to suck, but not this bad. You know, we're still going to get that good pick. I feel it. I feel like we're going to get, 13, 12, 11, maybe 14. Let's go. Would you guys take Gordon Hayward for a rental? Let me know. Let's say the Knicks can't pull off that big splash next season for the wing spot, but they can get 1 year of Gordon Hayward at the 3 spot. Would you guys be open to that? Almighty says, hell no. Yeah. Even if it's for a 1 year rental, as a wing upgrade with 6'8" with size. Nick Yaks in the house, salute. Dallas thinks they could win once playoffs start. I do too. I don't think they can flip that switch with the defense. I think that's where it starts and ends, man. In the West Coast, Wild Wild West, going to be insane, man. It's going to be crazy. Duras, salute all. We've gone through our predictions for the rest of the season. We feel strongly that these Knicks can pull out 4 to 5 more wins. The schedule's there. I think it's very, very possible, likely we beat the Houston Rockets. I think we can win one out of the Heat and the Cavs game. I think we can definitely win 1 or 2 of the Pacer games, and then the Wizards one and the Pelicans one is maybe toss of the coin. So 46 wins, 47 wins could get us to that 6th spot, guaranteed playoffs. I mean, that's what it's all about. Obviously, I would love to have the Cavs more than Philly or Boston, but strange things happen. You just never know. The Cavs are young. They're going to be young and spry in the playoffs. Joel Embiid, James Harden. You never know, man. That might be a more favorable matchup in the end. If one of them has an injury. Dirty says nah to Hayward. We need to play and develop the young wings, and Tibbs can't control himself with the vet. That's the issue. Best believe he likes Hayward. He likes Reggie Bullock. Heck, we might even get Frank Ntilikina back. I'm just trolling now. He does like Kelly Oubre, though. So, I would take Kelly Oubre straight away as a, as an incremental increase. Extra wing, length, size. Let's face it, with a better defense, this team can still be scary next season and should be aiming to be a top 4 seed. There's no doubt about that. Hayward's been disgusting recently, throughout this contract. But I think this year he's played with less pressure, and I think he's been a bit more healthier. With that said, it would only be on a rental deal, that's for sure. Hopefully the price with OG is dropping, but when you're dealing with Masai Ujiri, man, I don't know if any player he's got prices dropping. He knows how to negotiate, so much. The good thing is the Hart deal, as much as it's not perfect, if we extend Hart and RJ's still on the roster with Quentin Grimes, it's not a case of like we're going into next season with a glaring hole. It's not ideal, but it's not like it's a glaring hole or nothing, don't forget we didn't have Josh Hart for the first like 2/3 of the season. So you got to go back to all these losses. You got to go back to that loss in Dallas when we couldn't secure the rebound. You got to go back to that 145 points OKC put up, Although that's not really looking as bad as it used to with OKC being legit. But the game where we blew 23 points to the Atlanta Hawks. The game we didn't hit a free throw against Chicago, and we lost that heartbreaker. I think the Knicks basically have 5 more wins if Josh Hart's on your roster next season to start the year, or was on this roster to start this year. Maybe Quentin Grimes comes back more developed. IQ comes back a better player. RJ better improved defensively. All of that with Josh Hart. I think this team's looking at a 50-win season still next season. That should be the goal. Isaiah Hartenstein's still here, got another year expiring. We've got the mid-level, Evan Fournier, Derrick Rose's cash coming off the books as well. So Leon got room to make a splash. But even just with Josh Hart, I think this team should have been a 50-win season if Josh Hart was on the roster to begin as well. So yeah, we do need to upgrade the wing spot, but we could still be that solid second round playoff team even without that wing. Yeah, looking at the mid-level guys, your favorites are Dante, McDaniels, Georges Niang for some mid-level guys. Yeah, that's interesting. Would you guys take I don't know if he's going to be available. I don't know if he's on a 1-year veteran minimum, but a Joe Ingles, a slow-mo Joe at the wing spot. He'd be a nice wing coming off the bench at least for the 3-point shooting, the handles. I think Milwaukee's definitely going to try to keep slow-mo Joe. What do you guys think of a lineup between Brunson, Hart, and OG? I think you definitely need Hart and OG's defense, but that's going to be a big upgrade. Yeah, that's going to be a big upgrade defensively. But where does Quentin Grimes play out? See, that's the thing. Everyone's saying Quentin Grimes is a part of the future. He's untouchable. But if the Knicks are looking to really make that move into contention, like I mean contention, and you keep Josh Hart, and you use Quentin Grimes, you use Obi, use RJ, and you can get a guy like one of Embiid or Jaylen Brown. Do you include Quentin Grimes if it gets you a Joel Embiid and gets you a Jaylen Brown? That's a scenario where maybe Quentin Grimes isn't part of the future of this team. Because you're going to have to give up something of real value to get those guys, and that's going to make us legit. Don't forget Tom Thibodeau's 65 years old. He ain't going to be around much longer. The sooner the Knicks can get into a contention window, he's going to push all for that. As much as he loves Quickley, as much as he loves Quentin Grimes, as much as he loves all these guys, right? He'd sell his soul. He'd sell them out in an instant if we could get Jaylen Brown or Embiid and become one of the top 2 teams in the East, and try to win a championship in New York, because he doesn't have time to waste. Yeah. No on Ingles, doesn't fit the timeline. Yep. Yeah, he's kind of that veteran that latches onto the contender. Yeah. Cameron says, and talking about next season, I don't see a 50-win season next season. With the way we're playing right now, maybe you feel like the chemistry's gone downhill. I could see a lot more upside as well. Remember, we did throw away a lot of games, but the risk is every year is like a brand new year. You got teams like Toronto next year; they could be better. Teams like Indiana are going to be coming. Teams like Washington might improve also. JJ wants Grimes to stick around for the future and also be part of that starting shooting guard. Upgrade the 3 and then the 5. Yep, I could see that. I could see Quentin Grimes being the starting 2 on a championship team on our next championship team, 100%. He's agile with the ball. He's a real two. He can dribble with the ball like Allen Houston. He can rise up. Yep. He's definitely that. He's at least that guy that fits that position, you know. We have so many dudes that don't really fit a position yet, but Quentin Grimes is definitely a prototypical shooting guard as well with some playmaking. If OG was willing to sign that extension straight away, I'd give up that Dallas pick. Yeah, I would too, definitely. There's going to be some great wings from the 10 to 15, 20 range, but a ready-made defensive wing like OG inserting into this team, 100% give that up. How much more we need to give up? Oh, I'm not sure. You know, they'll probably need Obi and some salary. Fournier, maybe a stash Rocas to sweeten the deal. But yeah, I think Leon Rose is going to be shopping this pick, fam. I really think, especially if we look legit in the playoffs as well. Man, Cameron says, feel like the NBA is rigging it. Don't want to see a star on the Knicks. It's been a long, long time, man. Um, I think it's more got to do with they want these small market teams to look amazing, look legit, and that's tough. That's tough out here in terms of the New York Knicks. You know, nothing's given, right? Everything's earned. You know, with this squad. But yeah, let's get it. Um, we do need to to focus on what's in our control right now. And if the Knicks can make the second round, that's going to be attractive. It's going to be attractive to stars. It's going to be attractive to guys maybe forcing their way out. And look at Jaylen Brown. That situation with Jaylen Brown is going to be huge. So, yeah, he's not feeling the vibes, not feeling the chemistry. It looks like in Boston, which is not an easy place to play in. You know, especially you've been to the finals, you've been all of that. Um, and yeah, I think this is going to be telling. This playoff run this season, not just for the Knicks fam, it's going to set up a lot of other teams' directions. You know, I'm talking about Philly, I'm talking about Boston, and look, Milwaukee might start to think about trading Middleton, or they might look at making some bigger moves. If let's say Milwaukee gets knocked out, in the second round. Yep, facts. Yep. Also, don't forget these guys are connected. You know, Brown might be talking to another dude and saying, "Hey, New York can create room for me and you, or this team can create space for both of us, man. I want to team up with you." You know, Brian Windhorst talking the other day about the New York Knicks can create two max spots to get it popping if they want to. And of course, there's a lot of salary they could get off RJ's, Fournier, Rose. Um, yeah, they could get off of Mitchell Robinson's salary as well. He's tradable. They really, really can make some moves, man. Let's do a score check right now, ladies and gentlemen, as the Dallas Mavericks have slowly started to come back, are down 10, 51 to 61, with 2 to play in the half. So we watched that closely. Can the Mavericks get a win to separate themselves with that draft pick? Get closer to the play-in. We've got the Jazz down 19 to 27 against the Bucks, so it's likely that they're going to lose. The Raptors picking up a win, up 20 on the Pistons, and the Pacers lost to the Celtics by 25, and the Wizards beat the Spurs. So the Wizards are then, forcing that late run to the play-in, maybe to put pressure on the Bulls, man. How come DeRozan is on the Bulls, says Cameron. The team is awful because he went there, right? That's a big market team. That's proof it's rigged to me. I think he liked the fit with when he went there with Lonzo, who's been out, Vucevic, and Zach LaVine. But Zach LaVine could also be headed to the exit. Let's hope Jaylen Brown wants that spotlight, because yeah, there'd be very few teams that he'd be looking at, keeping his eye on with that, fam. I think with a role, with a ready-made team around him, with a fit for a wing spot, he would fit in nicely right now, alongside Brunson and Randle. Um, yeah, with the Mitch thing, I don't really sit on either side. I just don't see it lasting that long. If he's really feeling like he wants a bigger role, I just don't see where it's going to come from in terms of like extra shots, extra touches. You know, with Tom Thibodeau, we run a read and react system, and the player's natural, reaction with the ball is to look to pass or to score mostly, and kick it out. You know, the only looks that Mitch is going to get is the putbacks and the alley oops that are available once in a blue moon. Or the finish on the fast break. So, I don't see a world where Mitch is ever going to average more than 6 to 7, 8 shots a game, which is, even for what he's feeling, is underused. So, yeah, let's see what's going to happen, man, in the summer and the off season. Almighty would still trade Randle, not gonna lie. A lot more people might feel the same way after this playoffs. Um, he's had a great season, bounce back, all of that. But it's, we've got to fit around Brunson and the rest of the team and just see where things end up. Also, there's a world where Randle could be the best player on this team in the playoffs as well. He needs to get that shooting back up. Um, he was 2 of 9 from deep. I've always said, when he's hitting it, it's nice, but I don't know if you want your power forward jacking up 9 to 10 threes, per game. You know, there was a stretch where he was open a lot, and they were leaving him open, and he was draining it. But when they're up on you, when they're up on Randle, those shots are contested now. So, we're starting to see it regress. Yeah, Mitch can get a bigger role with the Shanghai situation, man. That is kind of keeping it a buck, though, too, in terms of what NBA team is going to give Mitch a bigger role on offense. I mean, he's got a big role in the league. That's a defensive specialist, a rebounder, all of that. But what kind of bag is he hoping to show? That a team's going to let him do that. Has he got jump hooks up his bag? Has he got step backs? Can he hit the three ball? All of that stuff. He's going to have to, show that he can do that. Also, it's not just the fact that Mitch ain't helping. It's about, to make that upgrade, some, coach or GM may want a two-way center, a guy who's a threat offensively and defensively in terms of that situation, and the baggage, if he keeps taking to social, then that's going to be something to, that might start pissing off other people. But yeah, man, the pressure has increased. This break has come at the best time for Knicks Nation out here. I'm expecting 5 more wins out of 7, and we cling on to that 5th spot, fam, and we get it after that, because we really can't afford, with Brooklyn and the Heat on our tails, to lose any more than 3 more games. With that said, and with hopes, to still finish in the 6th spot. So, yeah, it's been a fun show. We out here balling on a Friday night. The New York Knicks, got to bounce back. All eyes will be on Julius Randle back at home. There'll be talks about, his temperament to close the season out as we try to hunt this 5th spot, which will be big. I like that Cleveland matchup still. It's going to be big. 100% though, we need to beat the Heat, right? Take it to Pat Riley and Jimmy Buckets at MSG, right? No excuses. No excuses. Got to win that one, right? Got to take care of business against Houston, first and foremost. But the Heat is critical. Also, keep an eye out for tomorrow. will be on live, potentially with Coach Nick, B-Ball Breakdown. Look out for the notification. We'll be talking more about, the run home to the playoffs. Coach Nick was in the building in LA against the Clippers, watching the Knicks. So he's got some insights from what he's seeing. But in terms of tomorrow also, the Heat play the Brooklyn Nets. So who do we root for? Man, it's tough either way. But let's root for the Brooklyn Nets, I feel. Because, the better that the Heat lose, the gap grows between us and the 5th spot to keep them off our backs right now. And then with the Wizards, the Pacers and the Pelicans, right, I think that's an easier matchup. Yep, so salute to the best chat in the biz. Salute Knicks Streets, Knicks Nation. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll hopefully see you tomorrow night. Peace.